Yeah, Florida's tough. Disney World's fun, but. And I'm your backup. If you have the questions on the back. Yeah, especially in Florida, I'm sure. Yeah, I get the same thing from my in-laws when we go visit them. They take us. I know the first thing they say, don't embarrass us and tell us you're from California or something. Right. Yes. Say that, yeah. Hopefully this isn't your last one. Yeah, most of it is. Oh, rude. He's a rich guy. Walked in on
So what I did is most important taped also. What's the rules?
The memo's not printing downstairs. It's printing up in the
That's it's like well, but then that too, because
that's what I meant. I just sent it. Yeah, I just sent it to Josh because I realized I didn't apply it. Didn't send it yet. Well, what's the with the life situation and just curveball is put in there also. Yeah, or we don't have to have the portable lights anymore. Yeah, my poor- Yeah, I'll turn it on now. All brand new lighting that works. It's kind of it doesn't work. I think yeah, all the way around. If you think about it, it's summers too. Degrees. So either way, we're losing just time. Yeah. So, I didn't want to. I gotta try to get everybody back. Don't worry. Why would
Not sponsored. Literally, or you need to get advertising to your patrons.
sign it up?
Like, so it's local businesses, we want the people to see English to support businesses. It keeps things very hard on no. And then we thought too, is I know eventually we'll have our own sponsorship. And then what's my partner? That's other things. So conservative approach that we can
I think yeah, the same time. It's gonna be worth it. You know, nice. It happens. Very nice talking to you. Yeah, but it-
There we go.
There we go. All right, ready? All right, good evening, everyone. I'm going to call to order the City of West Sacramento Parks, Recreation, and Intergenerational Services Commission on February 4th, 2025. I was going to say 2024 at 6:12 p.m. We are going to have Commissioner Jans lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so that's going to go ahead and bring us to General Administration Functions, Part 1, presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the commission. Do we have any public comment?
Let me do roll call really quick.
I always forget roll call.
Chair Rosas,
Present.
Vice Chair Galvan,
Present.
Commissioner Ahmad,
Present.
Commissioner Jans,
Present.
Commissioner Archuleta, Commissioner Ramsey, Commissioner Schatzel,
Present.
Alternate Member Gonzalez. We have a quorum.
Perfect. All right, so Part 1, public comment, or presentations by the public on matters not on the agenda. Do we have any?
If you have a public comment, please bring it up.
If you guys filled out the public comment card in the back, just go ahead and bring it up to Sherelle right here, so that way we could get it all queued up. I think it's safe to say that we don't have, these are all on agenda item number 4, so I think we're going to move on. So you guys put for number 4, so we're going to wait until we get to number 4, and you guys are going to go ahead and make a public comment then. Perfect. So that's going to bring us to the consent agenda. Number 2, considerations of approval of the minutes of the December 3rd, 2024 meeting of the West Sacramento Parks, Recreation, and Intergenerational Services Commission.
So moved.
Do I have-
Second.
All right, Commissioner Schatzel moved and Commissioner Jan second. All right, so that's going to go ahead and bring us to the regular agenda, which is presentation to announce the availability of the Community Development Block Grant funding.
Good evening, Chairperson Rosas and members of the Commission. My name is Isaiah Alford. I am the Community Investment Planner in the Economic Development and Housing Department. The purpose of this presentation is to announce the availability of the 2025 CDBG funding. After the presentation, staff requests that the Commission provide comments and feedback regarding the goals of the 2025 CDBG funding. In 2016, the City of West Sacramento became an entitlement jurisdiction, which enabled the city to receive funding from the U.S. Department of Urban Development. A requirement of the CDBG program is to develop a consolidated plan, which must occur every 3 to 5 years. This consolidated plan must examine the needs of low-income persons and neighborhoods. CDBG funds must be used to address one of 3 national objectives. And the city must develop an annual action plan which allocates CDBG funds for activities to achieve the goals of the consolidated plan. National objectives were used to establish the goals of the current consolidated plan. The first national objective benefits low and moderate income households. The second is the prevention or elimination of slums and blights. And the third national objective is an urgent need. It is important to note that 70% of the jurisdiction's allocation must be used to benefit low and moderate income households. So the CDBG program is a strict funding source, but allows for entitlement jurisdiction to use the money for a wide range of activities. These activities can be acquisition and rehabilitation of affordable housing, construction and rehabilitation of public facilities and public infrastructure. Economic development activities are also eligible for assistance under the CDBG program. Activities can also include homeless, senior, and youth programs. So the 5-year consolidated plan was approved by City Council in April 2021, and we are currently on the 5th year for the 2025 CDBG funding. The current consolidated plan had a total of 6 goals. Goal number 1 addresses homelessness, which has been a key focus of the council's strategic plan over the past few years. Goal number 2 also addresses homelessness by creating housing opportunities. Goal number 3 provides infrastructure improvements in neighborhoods suffering from disinvestment. Goal number 4 provides fair housing education and counseling services to low and moderate income residents and landlords. And goal number 5 supports small businesses by strengthening economic opportunities for small businesses and employment. And goal number 6 is the preservation of affordable housing stock to provide housing rehab funding for single-family units. These goals represent the needs that were identified during the consolidated plan process. However, not all goals will be achieved nor funded with CDBG funds solely. So here are some projects that CDBG funded over the current consolidated plan. The Homeless Emergency Housing Rehabilitation Project was funded in April 2024. City Council approved the purchase of the former El Cajon and Pickwick motels for an expansion of the operations of homeless emergency housing programs. Both motels require substantial rehabilitation needs and will provide interim housing for persons experiencing homelessness, with the goal of getting program participants into permanent housing. The North Riverwalk, and the picture in the background is the homeless emergency housing program. The North Riverwalk Trail Extension Project was funded with 2016 and 2022 funds. CDBG funds were used for the design improvements to a section of the Riverwalk Trail, which connects to I Street Bridge, and this provided ADA accessibility for West Sacramento residents. In 2020 and 2022, CDBG funds were used for the Washington and Broderick Lighting and Safety Project. The purpose of this project was to improve pedestrian safety and visibility by replacing and updating street lights and traffic signals throughout Washington and Broderick neighborhoods, specifically in Census Tract 101.01, which is known as a low-income census tract. Fair housing services have been funded $21,000 every year of the current consolidated plan and the previous consolidated plan. And Home Key Supportive Services at 817 West Capitol Ave primarily serves the unhoused population through case management services. And this picture is the Washington and Broderick Lighting and Safety Project, the street lights that I mentioned last slide. So how are activities selected? Not all eligible projects are good uses for CDBG funds due to federal requirements and regulations. Staff attempts to be strategic and use CDBG funds on projects that are ready to move forward and will not expend an undue amount due to federal requirements and regulations. So we typically use CDBG funds to leverage other private, state, and local funding sources and federal funding sources. So here's a breakdown of the grantee's annual allocation. The city receives an allocation amount approximately of $500,000 every year. The maximum amount of general administration and planning is 20%. Supportive services are maxed at 15% in any given year, and the remaining 65% is all eligible projects and activities selected. And all activities must meet a national objective. So HUD has not yet announced CDBG allocations for the 2025 year, but the city anticipates receiving an amount similar to the previous year's allocation of $519,475. So these are the activities that staff are recommending for the 2025 program year. These activities are ready to move forward given the city's current ongoing investments, as well as challenges meeting the annual CDBG schedule requirements. So the Homeless Emergency Housing Rehabilitation Project, the emergency housing facility sites will continue to need improvements. Additionally, we are in the process of negotiating another site that will likely need some and require some level of rehab. Home Key Supportive Services will continue to support case management, which has been a key component of program participants receiving this service. And general administration and planning will be used for program administration activities such as preparing the annual action plan, preparing for and getting ready for the consolidated plan, and also submitting the CAPER, known as the Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report. So here's the 2025 Annual Action Plan schedule. The first steps of the 2025 Annual Action Plan are to hold presentations before the EDH Commission, like last week, and then holding today's commission meeting. With recommendations received from both commissions, staff will prepare a 2025 Annual Action Plan draft and make that draft available for a 30-day public comment period. Staff plans on presenting before City Council for a workshop in March 13th, and then returning to City Council in April 9th for final adoption. So this concludes my presentation. I'm open for questions. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the commission, but I also want to remind the commission to ensure that your comments are clear, concise, and ensuring that we are being respectful of city staff's time and people coming out to watch the commission meeting. So any commissioner comments? Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Jones.
I just have a quick suggestion, and I don't know if this is going to be included in the draft section of 2025, but since goals 1 and 2 both are related to homelessness and the rehabilitation, if there was any statistics that you might be able to bring to your presentation in terms of whether it comes from case management or your CAPER or something, just to show that these funds being allocated toward these 1 and 2 goals, these are the outcome of putting this money into those 2 goals. Whether that be we moved X amount of people into the homes and Y amount of people have moved on and found their own housing, or success stories, if you will. So it's not just money allocation, if we can actually see the results of this program working. So whenever the time is appropriate, that would just be my recommendation, to maybe, if you can, include some statistics, if that's possible. That would be my suggestion.
Will do.
But thank you. It was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Commissioner Schatzel.
Isaiah, just a few questions. Are you recommending any park projects out of the funding this year, the way it was last year?
Not at this time due to the requirements. So we receive nearly approximately $500,000 a year, and that's not a lot compared to when we need to fund particular projects. And we have a strict timeline that we have to meet, and if we don't meet this timeline, we jeopardize losing CDBG funds.
Yeah, okay. A couple of meetings ago, we had a report that was about resources the city was providing the aging. And they had a program in there that was listed as terminated. And it was a small grant, wasn't CDBG funded, but I thought it was a great idea. It provided small grants for seniors that wanted to apply that could fix a small improvement in their house. Could be a window, could be a door, could be a ramp to get to the front door. And the project talked about how it was terminated, or the report said it was terminated, didn't explain why. And the staff report actually got canceled, so we're kind of waiting till it comes back. Can CDBG funds be used to backfill that program? Because it seemed to me that that was a really good idea.
So I'll have to do additional research on that and get back to you. I definitely could follow up with you.
Okay. Yeah, because it just seemed, it didn't really explain why the program went away, so I assume we just ran out of money, but I don't know that to be true.
Yeah, I'm not too
You might
familiar
want to
with.
check into that, yeah.
Okay.
It was John Robinson's report.
Okay,
If
I
that
could definitely
helps.
reach out to him.
That item actually should come back in April. So
Good.
there'll be an update probably in April, so that would probably just be a different topic,
That
but
that
yeah.
assumes in the commission changeover, we're here, but yeah.
Might not, but
I
you can
know,
still talk
I
to
know.
me.
Okay. And then one final comment, it sort of piles on to what Commissioner Jans was asking. I hear this around town a lot, so you can dispel the rumor or whatever that we use money to build homes and housing for the unhoused, but we don't have enough people in West Sac to fill the units. So then we cross the river and try to entice their residents to come over here to fill our spots. I'm just sitting in coffee and I hear people talking about that. So true, not true, myth, what do you think? Let's follow up to what Commissioner Jans was asking.
At this time, I could get back to you on that. I don't know how
right.
to answer that.
Okay, they have my contact, you can let me know. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Ahmad.
I address all public business by investing in that public speaking of light, using those kind of jargon. I have like property and movement.
Definitely will do. Thank you.
Now it's working.
All right, any more comments from the commission? No, all right, thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's going to go ahead and move us to proposed updates to Memorial Park Organized Sports League use policy. Brandy? No, I'm going to, can you go first, and then I'm going to have public comment go after?
No
Yeah.
problem. Did the commissioners get the new copy of this copy?
The memo?
You got just the memo?
Yes. We only have a memo, so this is the first time we've
Yeah.
seen this.
Well, this is the first time you've seen this was originally mailed out to you though, correct? Or
No.
emailed out?
No.
It was emailed out, but they don't have this version.
But they
It's
saw
on the
the
website.
first version,
Yeah,
correct? The
we
initial?
had the
Okay.
first draft, but we don't have this one.
Perfect,
Yeah.
okay. Can you zoom it, like just make it so that they can see it closer? It might be in the, yeah, there we go.
More?
I think I would just, if you can, you don't need anything on the column, so if you could just make it so that the whole, it's just the wording. Like it's just the white portion. Well, good evening, Commissioners. Chair Brosas. My name is Brandy Dion, Recreation Manager overseeing athletics, aquatics, fitness, and the Recreation Center. Tonight, I'm presenting proposed updates to the Memorial Park Organized Sports League OSL use policy and seeking your feedback. Since the agenda was posted, additional changes have been made and an errata memo has been issued. I'll walk you through these changes, and an updated version of this policy is available on the screen as well as online on our platform. So a little background, the Memorial Park OSL use policy was created in 2013 to balance the needs of local organized sports leagues with neighborhood concerns. Memorial Park is a neighborhood park, not a sports complex. And as OSL use increased, residents raised concerns about field access, noise, and facility impacts. This policy was established to coordinate usage and ensure that both residents and leagues can enjoy the park. In your original agenda, the very first 2013 policy was also included. This policy is a department administrative policy, not subject to commission approval, but your feedback is highly valued and will help shape the final version. The revision process. So following the 2024 season, feedback was collected from West Sacramento Little League, which is our primary OSL at Memorial Park, our resident liaison representing the neighborhood concerns, and department staff that was identifying areas needing for clarification. Additionally, I put a request out to our state professional organization regarding agreements and received policies from 6 different jurisdictions and consulted with 2 additional local agencies to align with best practices. Yesterday, staff met with Little League and the resident liaison to further discuss concerns. The proposed updates reflect a compromise between OSL needs and resident concerns. So the key updates as we go through here, the first one is field use. You'll see most of our updates in here are just refining language to make it more concise and a little bit more clear. So for use, under the field use, we are clarifying that the minor league also needs to be requested for, we're clarifying official team practice guidelines. So the minor league field is now explicitly including as requiring approval for official team practice. That was an errata change from the original memo. It was intended to have major and minor fields. However, originally it just said major fields, so we're adding minor in there as well. Non-OSL field use clarification. So the fields may be used on Sundays and Mondays outside of the spring-summer season, maintaining the city's goal of 2 no-play days per week. So if another group wants to come in and reserve fields during the non-Little League season, the previous agreement, the way that it read, didn't allow the department to reserve on Sundays or Mondays. So this new verbiage just allows us to reserve 7 days a week, but still, we will still maintain the 2 days of no play. The next change is neighborhood notification. Will you scroll for me? So the update reflects current practices. So previously, the OSLs had to cover the cost of city mailed notices. Over time, this process was replaced by communication via a designated resident liaison who communicates with a designated city staff. Currently, the recreation supervisor overseeing the athletic programs. We're moving into security. Major and minor fields will remain locked year-round at city's discretion to support maintenance and the integrity of the ball fields. However, the single A and T-ball fields will remain open year-round for non-organized play. Those interested in reserving the minor or major fields can submit a field use request to the department. Sponsorship banners. Sponsors help the OSLs fund their operations, and displaying banners is an important part of recognizing the OSL's supporters. The neighborhood concern is the residents would prefer banners not be placed in their eye line. West Sac Little League's request is to remove the banner limitations and allow banners to be displayed to the general public. The compromise update is, and this is an errata update, banners must be appropriate for youth audiences. This is just to establish clear language in the agreement that any of the supporters are appropriate for youth audiences. Another errata change is that additional banners may be placed on the interior side of the major and minor outfield fences at West Sac Parks Recreation Department designated spaces. So banners will need to be removed at the end of the season. So previously, when the OSL would place banners on the inside of the fences, they were required to come down on Saturday evening and would be put back up on Tuesday. This change allows the OSL to keep their banners in their current walkway in between the two fields, as well as placing additional banners on the inside of the fields to be displayed to the OSL patrons. The current banner limitation will remain to ensure sponsorships are visible within the park to OSL patrons, but not intended for advertising to the general public. Sound amplification. One of the most significant changes relates to amplified sound. Per Municipal Code 12.12.020, amplified sound means sound projected and/or transmitted by electronic means, including amplifiers, loudspeakers, microphones, or similar devices which are intended to increase the volume, range, distance, or intensity of sound. Per Municipal Code 12.12.030, no person shall use amplified sound in any park or in a park except as provided in this chapter without first obtaining an amplified sound permit. This prohibition shall not apply to the use of any radio, tape player, tape recorder, record player, or television for personal use or to broadcast from an emergency vehicle or personnel. The current policy and practice allows for amplified sound 15 days per season, which includes their playoffs, without a special event permit, which means they do not have an amplified sound permit for those 15 days. West Sac Little League uses these days for player announcements and walk-up music clips. Music clips have recently been added over the last few years. Special event days, such as their opening day and their hit-a-thon, were also included within those 15 days. The current practice, scratch that. Resident and league perspectives. The residents have requested amplified sound be limited to voice only during playoffs and all-stars. No music at all, including the one-day special event permitted days. West Sac Little League strongly advocates to keep music as part of their game day experience. Staff recommendation, which is a compromise proposal, reduce the number of amplified sound days from 15 to 12 and move that to voice only. New requirement, the 12 days, this is an errata update, the 12 days must be pre-scheduled with West Sac Parks and Recreation Department for resident notification and for staff monitoring. Allow up to 4 additional special event days with music permitted via an approved amplified sound permit. Examples would be their opening day, closing day, championship game day, or their hit-a-thon. A new clarification, this is an errata update. The maximum sound level will be set at 55 decibels, measured 35 feet from the source. As Memorial Park is classified as residential, it is not located in the entertainment district where the maximum sound level is set for 85 decibels. Monitoring. Staff will be present to measure sound levels with a decibel reader, and staff is also researching with potential or for potential permanent sound monitoring solutions. While we understand that walk-up songs add to the player experience, they are an enhancement and not a necessity. This compromise balances league requests with the neighborhood concerns. The additional updates, such as in the special events section, it just clarified the website title, and fees, it just updated to reflect the current practice. So the next steps, a red draft of the proposal update was included in attachment 2. We'll make sure to get that to you. Staff is seeking commission feedback that will be considered alongside OSL and resident feedback to finalize the policy for the 2025 OSL season, beginning in March. As feedback is collected and considered, staff will finalize the agreement and will be shared with OSLs and the residents. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the commission again. Let's remember that we are an advisory commission, and we are not allowed to direct staff. And let's also ensure that we're keeping our comments clear and concise and being mindful of staff and residents' time. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up to the commission.
If it pleases the commission, I'd like to motion that we hear from the members of the public before commenting. Would that be acceptable to the commission?
Yeah, I'm okay.
All right, second from Commissioner Schatzel.
All right, we're going to go ahead and move to public comment. The first speaker I have is Kylie.
All right, my fan squad fine. Good evening, everybody. My name is Kylie Cordum. I have been involved with the West Sacramento Little League for the last 9 years. I've served on the board for the last 3, and this year I have the honor of serving as the president of the league. Memorial Park is more than just a field to us. It's a place where nearly 600 kids and their families come each season to cheer and play and create lifelong memories. The league is seen as a heartbeat of our community, and most of the neighbors support and celebrate our league each year. However, a small group of residents continue to push back on the restrictions that we feel unfairly target West Sacramento Little League. In my opinion, the proposed MOU is unfair, as no other sports league in West Sacramento faces these same restrictions as the parks they play at as we do. It's unfair that West Sacramento Little League is being singled out and targeted based on the park that we play with without imposing the same standards to the other parks and leagues within the city. At the end of the day, this is more than just about music and banners and field access. It's about whether we'll allow these 5 neighbors to continue to dictate the policies the city shall implement, and that hurt hundreds of kids and families who rely on our league. We've always been good stewards of Memorial Park. We keep it clean. We invest in the upkeep, and we help bring the community together. So tonight, I'm asking for fairness to be taken into account when it comes to this MOU. I believe that we can work together towards a solution that supports both the community around the park and the kids who make West Sac Little League what it is. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to Kathy Rogers.
Hi, I'm Kathy Rogers. I am a grandmother for one of the players that have been playing over there at the Memorial Park for several years. I just want to do a couple opinions of mine. I don't want to, it's just from my vision of what I see out there. I do know that the lack of the music right now is starting to bother the kids that are used to doing that. It's very inspiring them. They love to have that music. We're only playing the music during like from 4:30 to 7:30 on just several months during the year. And it's only from Tuesday to Friday and then Saturdays during the day. But it's very limited amount of time. And again, what she was saying, why do 5 neighbors or however many neighbors get to rule over so many other people that are just there to try to enjoy themselves with the baseball experience? And it's not during the quiet times. So we don't amplify it. We don't, make it so it's bursting out at the seams. We try to keep it quiet just so, because there's 2 fields anyway, so we have to just aim it towards the fields that are going on anyway. I do live near a school whereas so many other residents do. And there's a lot of parking around there, and there's a lot of things happening, football games and loud noise out on the playground. And you know what? I'm living there. That's part of what I'm paid for. So I don't go to the school and complain that they are too loud. That wouldn't be the good experience to be. I guess I would just have to move. Anyway, I just wanted to voice my own opinion. Thank you for listening. Oh, I wanted to say one thing about the banners. If they do go inside, honestly, even the people that are watching the games wouldn't really be able to see the banners. So I think that it'd be nice to be able to support our local businesses by showing, their advertisement. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. That is going to bring us to Ryan Cassidy.
Hi, good evening. I'm Ryan Cassidy. I'm the Vice President of West Sac Little League. I have 2 kids in the league. They're age 8 and 7. I've been on the board for the last 3 years. It's my first year as the Vice President. I want to first acknowledge the maintenance of the fields and the huge improvement that's been made over the last 2 years, supported by city staff. And we also have 2 board members dedicated to field maintenance, and those board members set up committees, and there's a lot of sweat equity and love that go into these fields, and I think it really shows, especially the improvement over the last 2 years, so I want to thank everyone involved for that. I also want to acknowledge that the city staff has been available and open to discuss the MOU, including our discussions yesterday, although we hadn't seen the changes that were presented this evening. I want to talk mostly about the sound issue. So I think there's kind of two times that the league provides sound. One is the amplified sound that you've heard described. There's an existing process. There's a special permit that we fill out. We get granted the application to use the special permit sound. And so that process already exists. It doesn't need to be memorialized or changed or edited via an MOU. The same exists for city standards around noise statutes, right? There's noise ordinances in the city that exist already. Any violation of those, the folks that are in violation should be held accountable. It does not need a separate MOU that's been driven by a handful of select neighbors to create new policy in the city. So I want to be really careful that we're not creating new policy year over year, 1, based on a small group of people, and 2, that can expose both the city and the league to new legal hazards. So I want to make sure that we're in line with those things, and I think we want to be held accountable to existing city standards. Finally, on the banner, it sounds like our requests were met, and so I thank the city for meeting those requests. And I want you to consider this 500 or more kids that are playing Little League Baseball, including a huge portion of 8 and 9-year-olds, almost 120 kids at that level. So this league is growing. It's going to be really exciting over there in the next few years, just as our city is growing. And so I would want to make sure that as we move forward, that we can have an agreement that can be durable and that we're not going back year over year to negotiate all these minor points, right? We have policies and procedures within the city that govern all the use of our parks. We should follow those, but we don't need to create new standards for an individual or a certain league or a certain park. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. That's going to go ahead and bring us to Zach Brown.
Hi, my name is Zach Brown. I'm a baseball player that has been playing for West Sac Little League for 8 years. This is my 9th year. And this league has let me do what I love to do and just play baseball and have fun with all my teammates and the excitement of waking up on a Sunday morning and getting ready to play a baseball game. Ever since about my 5th year, I've had a walk-up song, and the exhilarating feeling of you going up to the plate, being ready to hit the ball out of the park with your favorite music going in your ears is a good feeling. And last year, I was in the majors division, and halfway through the season, the walk-up song rule got banned. And ever since, I've missed that rule, and I've missed hearing my favorite song going up to the plate, and I hope it gets back this year. Thank you.
No, by law, no. No, but thank you. We're going to go ahead and go to Drayton Moreno. I hope I said that correctly. Yeah, okay.
Hi, my name is Drayton Marino, and I'll be talking about how the walk-up songs got banned this year. I think that the walk-up songs with me and my teammates in the dugout, singing to our songs, having a good time, and like Zach Brown said, it's just really enjoyable to hear your favorite song going up to the plate and knocking the ball out of the park. And I don't really think it's fair that just a couple of neighbors can argue about songs and banners just to make our experience less exciting. But other than that, I hope that the walk-up songs this year will return, and thank you.
Thank you. That's going to go ahead and bring us to Melissa Brown.
Hello, good evening. My name is Melissa Brown, and my boys both play for West Sac Little League. They've been in the league for many years. I want to take a moment to share with you why Little League Baseball is a shining beacon of hope in our community. Not just for the kids who play, but for all of us that call this place home. At its heart, Little League is about so much more than just baseball. It's about instilling in our kids the timeless value of teamwork, discipline, and sportsmanship. It's about empowering them to handle success with humility and failure with resilience. These are lessons that will stay with them long after they leave the field. None of this happens without us, the parents, coaches, the volunteers, who dedicate their time to create a safe, supportive, and fun environment for our kids to thrive in. And it doesn't happen without the backing of our city and the neighbors around Memorial Park. Over the last few years, a small handful of neighbors around Memorial Park have expressed their concerns about music being played and banners being hung to support local businesses. While we understand their frustrations, we believe that these elements add to the magic of the Little League experience. The music creates a lively atmosphere that draws players and families back year after year. The banners showcase our community spirit and support our local West Sac businesses. We all need to come together to champion Little League because we're not just investing in our kids' futures. We're investing in the future of our community. This league is growing, and so is this community. We're giving kids a sense of belonging, a chance to make lifelong friends, the confidence to pursue their dreams, both on and off the field. This is not about any of us adults. It's about every single one of our kids having the time of their lives, learning lessons, and feeling like they're part of something truly special. Thank you.
Thank you. That's going to go ahead and bring us to Matt Page.
My shirt? I'll let the record reflect I'm wearing a 2022 All-Star shirt, and Dave's son was an All-Star that year, as well as my son. My name is Matt Page. I've been a resident of West Sacramento for about 21 years, and I have two boys, one who has aged out of Little League, and my youngest son is playing his first year in majors. Go Blue Jays. I would like to say that I have seen the restrictions on Little League get much tougher over the years. When our boys were first starting, there weren't really any of these kind of restrictions. And like some of these board members have been saying, it really kind of takes away something from the environment. And I'm also a sponsor, and it takes away something from the sponsorship environment as well when you have banners facing each other and they're behind a fence, and it's not really kind of the spirit of the sport. So I'd like to see less restrictions going forward, and I'd like to make sure also that the Commission and the West Sac Little League Board has the time to review these changes that have been proposed. So thank you.
Thank you. That's going to bring us to Mr. Andrew Domek. I don't think I've ever called you Andrew.
For the record, most people do call me Andy. As you can tell, I'm a coach with West Sac Little League. 2 years ago, I helped coach the AAA Dodgers. Last year, I helped coach the Phillies. And this year, I'm helping coach the Majors Orioles, the future Tournament of Champions Majors Orioles. First of all, I'm absolutely thrilled with what's been done with Memorial Park. It is a jewel. It is an absolute jewel of the city. So thank you. Thank you. The camaraderie and the valuable lessons my kids have learned during their Little League careers is going to stay with them their whole lives. And I can honestly say, for me, a bad day coaching is pretty much better than a good day doing anything else. It's wonderful. And as I understand the draft MOU, I would hope there could be some allowances made for a few items. One, if we aren't allowed to have games that go past 5 or start before 5 on a Saturday, that means we're going to be there making noise more often on more days. So it might be a good idea to let the games go later on the Saturday. Further, I hope there's some wiggle room for our kids to have music and be announced during games. Again, West Sac Little League really only utilizes that field for a few months each year. There's practically 0 games before March and after late May. So perhaps the comparatively small window of time the league is hosting games could have rules that are a little bit more permissive. Thank you, and go Orioles.
Thank you. Mateo?
Hi, my name is Mateo Sexton, and I am a player of West Sac Little League. My family and I have been a part of West Sac Little League for 7 years now, coming into 8. I've always been able to have a walk-up song until about last season. What I like about having walk-up songs is walking up to the plate, hearing a song makes your nerves go away from going up to the plate just to have fun with your friends and teammates. I think it's unfair that people don't let us kids have fun and listen to music while we play one of our favorite sports. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Myra?
Hello, my name is Myra Sexton. I am a resident of West Sac for 12 years, and I've been a part of West Sac Little League for 7 as a board member for the last 2. I want to talk about the banners. As you know, our league is run by volunteers as well as local sponsors. I'm recommending that we move the sponsor banners to a more visible, straight-facing location, ensuring that they reach their maximum audience during the limited 3 to 4 month period that we display them. Improving banner visibility offers a tremendous opportunity to support our local businesses and stimulate local economic growth. Unfortunately, the current placement at Memorial Park in the interior walkway renders them totally invisible from the street. And lastly, without our local sponsors, we would not be able to keep our costs affordable for all children to play Little League, including scholarship. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. That's going to bring us to our last speaker, Jennifer Freeman.
Hello, and I'm going to beat this drum a little bit harder. So my name is Jennifer Freeman, and I'm this year's player agent for West Sac Little League. One of the comments made was that music was an enhancement and not a oh my gosh, necessity. It's not needed, okay? But that doesn't sound like a big deal. However, what we're missing is that these kids are getting confidence, self-expressions, and bringing the fun into the community. It's fun just to be there as a parent or as a friend, just watching these kids go and step up to this plate. One of the things this MOU mentions is that there's certain days of restrictions for the days that we can have music. I create the schedules for this year's teams, and for me to have to pick and choose which kids get those games at Memorial, other than the other parks that we have available, it's a hard decision because those games are allowed to have music while this one park is not. And so it is an unfair balance between just one side of West Sacramento and to the other. Because in one neighborhood, the community supports us, and in one neighborhood, it's very clear that we're causing tension and involving a lot of issues that should not be here, right? There is other issues. Last year, we had some of the neighbors come up to us during picture day and asking us, can we please move our cars? Can we move our cars? And going to our parents. You know, that's not something you want to enjoy when you're at a kid's event, right? We're parking on a public street. And every single thing we allow, next year it's going to be something else. You know, the parking isn't on this year. The parking will be there next year. Maybe the year after that, we have no music. In my personal opinion, the music should just be allowed. Why are we allowed 15 days of the year? Are they going to be leaving their houses those days as scheduled? No. You know, just to mimicize, we only are 3 to 4 months a year. Other areas and other leagues in our district have fall ball. We've chosen as a league not to incorporate fall ball, lessening a lot of opportunities for the kids to play more. And a lot of our kids will play in other districts and other leagues, such as North Natomas, instead of being on this field. So we are literally just asking for only 3 to 4 months out of a year for us to be able to have fairness between all of the kids in our league. Okay? Thank you very much for your guys' time today.
Thank you. All right, before I open up commissioner comments, go ahead, Brittany.
I just want to clarify that the league has always had 15 days of amplified sound in the very first agreement. That's what it states. So last year when the walk-up song stopped, it's because they reached their 15 days of use. So it wasn't, we did not make any decisions to end music last year. It was up to the league to decide when they choose to use those 15 days. I just want to make sure that that is understood, that we did not cancel music, nor did we cancel any sound from last or previous seasons. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to commissioners. Again, just making sure your comments are clear, concise, and let's be mindful of city staff and residents' time. So any commissioners want to make a comment? All right, you want to go first?
No, I can wait.
Okay.
I have a lot to say.
Any commissioners? Commissioner Schatzel?
Yeah, I have a lot to say too. Trying to be succinct and respectful. But I do have a question before I get too serious. I want to know what Zach's walk-up song is. What is it?
What?
Say it again. What is it? Good for you. Okay, I don't know. Mine is Wanted Dead or Alive by Bon Jovi. So, just so you know, if you don't know what that is, Google it. You'll find it. So I think, Brandy, I think you helped clear up the sound issue. But if I heard that right, they can't even play taped national anthems on some days?
In order to use amplified sound, they need to use one of their 15 days or they need to have a special use permit.
Okay.
That would be the same for soccer, that would be the same for girls softball. Anybody using amplified sound in our parks per our ordinances needs to have a special event permit.
Okay.
We have chose with this agreement to allow Little League to have those 15 days of the amplified sound. We also are providing the opportunity to ensure they will have 4 special event permitted days, which are not guaranteed. Just because you submit a special use permit won't doesn't reflect approval. So the department wants to ensure that they have those 4 special days, whatever days they would like, and then they can still utilize 12 days for player announcements.
Okay. All right, about the banners. Police department always cautions businesses to not plaster advertisements on their front windows because they can't see in. Police department have any concerns about the location of banners on any parks? Have you heard anything like that?
I haven't. It's a
No.
great comment, but that has not been brought to my attention.
Okay. I mean, I'm sympathetic too, because we're going through that right now on girls softball, and I am on the board of girls softball. You know, you need the sponsors and the banners to advertise your program, or the fees would be so outrageous the kids wouldn't be able to play, which we don't want. We want the kids to play. So I'm a little baffled. I mean, does it say, like, to use the old movie, right, does it say Chico's bail bonds? I mean, is there something on the banner that is so objective to the to the neighbors that they can't have it turned around facing their houses? I'm a little, what's the problem with the banners?
I think it's twofold. One, with the residents, is it being able to walk outside and maybe not see Mr. Jan's face plastered on a giant banner. Just saying, I see it every time I come out of Target.
But did they complain? But did they complain about the Honda commercial with his picture
So,
in it? You know?
so the residents have shared that they would like to not see the banners, but also the point of advertising is to their patrons. So the sponsors that are posted in the River City High School gym, that's the people the goers that are attending to watch those games, that's who it is intended to be advertised for. So the department's stance is that they are advertising to their patrons and not to the general public.
And yet at River City on the corner, where I am a coach, they have all kinds of banners on the corner of the fence that you drive by.
Sure, and they're likely sponsoring the fields out there.
Yeah.
I just know that for basketball, they're inside.
But I haven't heard any reports where the banners facing Jefferson cause crashes.
No.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's really it. I have a major objection to the park being locked at all. It is a publicly built park with taxpayers' dollars. It is publicly maintained by taxpayers' dollars. It should therefore be available, in my mind, to all taxpayers in West Sacramento. So I object to it being locked 24/7, 365. Having been on the board of directors for District 6 Little League, they have very specific, and it was alluded to, TOCs start this day, All-Stars start this day. Maybe there's a way we can open it more to the public and keep it safe somehow, because I know the dugouts have been changed around and stuff. But other leagues can't lock off a park. You know, can soccer lock off a park? Can cricket lock off a park?
Commissioner Satchel, the Olympic fields, they will have a limited access due to the cost of the improvements. With Bright Park, we have a new all-weather soccer field, so
Right.
we can't risk being damaged. So this park in particular, we've left it to the city staff's discretion to lock the field based on disuse. Many of the residents have chosen to use it as an unofficial dog park, which has been damaging to the field, to the players have been slipping and falling in dog mess. So basically, there's 2 accessible open fields for the public. So due to the level of improvement to those civic ball fields, we've chosen to keep them locked. And if in the future we have the option to open up at some time, if the residents can choose to treat it properly, but due to the vandalism and misuse, the fields have been locked.
Sure. Well, I have personally walked that field with a bucket and a shovel, because you're right, they lock some people. And the park staff would always complain. They lock the dog in there, they shop for 3 hours, come back and get their dog. And my initial reaction was call animal control. and the park workers out, I'm not doing that because then I can't go back to work the next day. The neighbors would be so mad, so no, I'm not
Oh,
going to do
increases
that.
park maintenance costs. We have a new dog park going in in Wright Park.
Yeah.
So that amenity will be available. We've got Sam Combs, which is very close by. So
Right.
they have their available ball fields for the public. So restricting use of these two.
Well, I still disagree, but I understand. It's a taxpayer park. Should be available to the taxpayer first. But that's a different subject. So I can't imagine, you know, I have this vision, and you said staff is going to go out there with a tool to measure the sound on the park. So that, to me, is silly.
We had staff out every time last season. Somebody stopped by to check in every single game last season.
Staff did?
Yep. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Tori.
Chris, was that you? You went out there all the time with that? Oh, yes.
And Memorial Park's not the only situation. Wright Park, mounted down around Drake. We have residents that live in the bridges.
Yeah.
Complaining about sound. So Memorial Park's not the only location.
Well, one of the major differences in Memorial is people have lived there a long, long time. I mean, I've lived next to a high school. I lived next to an elementary school, and I chose to live there. So I chose to live there knowing the kickballs are going to come into my backyard. I made that choice. Now, Memorial might be a little different. We keep hearing about the 5 neighbors, but maybe they've been living there for like 3 or 4 generations. So maybe it's a little different in that sense. I'm disappointed, the neighbors aren't here now. I mean, we've heard, one side of the story, but you guys have talked to the neighbors, so okay.
There should have been a public comment submitted from the neighborhood representative as well.
Okay. Great, thank you. That covers it for me.
Awesome. Any more commissioners?
Yes.
Commissioner Archuleta?
All right. So currently, advertising on banners is restricted to the interior of the fences, right?
Correct. So if you are walking down like the alley between majors and minors on your way to the snack bar, on your way to the restroom, the banners are there. And now we are also adding that they can begin to be on the outfield as well of the major and minor fields.
Right, I'm familiar with the layout. I used to play Little League myself when I was their age. I love the West Sac Little League, by the way. Lots of good memories. Advertisement, I always thought, the only thing I could think of for advertisement wanting to be in exterior locations, or not all locations, is advantageous to the business for advertising. Because in some of those areas in the ball fields, you can't see them from the outside anyways. So I would, like if I were a business, I would want, and I wasn't, say, I'd want my business to be on the inside so that the patrons that are going to the Little League would be able to see my banner inside from the business that I have. But there are some areas too that you can't see them. So for instance, like you were saying, the corridor that comes to the snack bar, you could probably turn those banners on the inside, which would be going with the rest of the banners on the interior of the fence. So there shouldn't be any problem with that, right?
I think we can work with the league to see if that's an option, if that's better suited for them. We're open to, even as we met with Ryan yesterday, the banner situation definitely can progress to see how we can assist and better fit their needs for additional banners and for additional placements.
Right. So some patrons, some business owners may not want theirs on the inside, may want them to keep them on the interior of the fence, where more people will see them coming by. The only advantage you would have by turning it on the inside, which is already no restrictions to put them on the inside, would be, say, for the owner of the business to say, I would rather have it on the inside. There's no restrictions from that already, right?
I think too, there's ways that they could double side them, so now they have even more, like if they have one on this side, one on that side. The banners, we can definitely work with placement within that space.
Kind of curious, is the reason for this because we want premium places to be able to charge more for a premium place from the sponsors?
No, we have nothing to do with how they sell their banners. It is strictly as a city and as the Parks and Recreation Department, they are not sponsoring Memorial Park. They're not sponsoring our department. They're sponsoring West Sac Little League. And that is our stance on advertising to the general public.
which helps to curb the cost for the kids, I think, that are, and the teams out, which is great. The other question I had was the music, the walk-up music. When I played, we didn't have walk-up music.
No, this is a newer addition,
why
a newer
they would
trend
like
that has started to hit the baseball world.
Yeah, sounds like big-time wrestling, you know, when the wrestlers come out and they have that music. So is it consistent, or it's just little snips of it when they come up?
It would be just little snips. So it's like the player gets announced, their music's on, crowds cheering.
It's just a small snippet of
yes,
it's not constant.
It's not constant, no. So it's every 3 minutes you're hearing another short clip of music.
But at a lower rate of volume.
My understanding is it is coming through a speaker, which then it's being amplified throughout the park, or not throughout the park, but throughout that space.
So, but it's mostly for the kids that are coming out because they like hearing it.
Correct.
So if they were to lower it down, they might be able to get a larger amount of days that is not restricted. So right now they have 15 days.
Correct.
So
it's about to the city ordinances and the city policies of having amplified sound in public parks without an amplified sound permit, which you get through a special permit event, or like a special event permit.
Right. Okay. So what are we looking at? What would they like to have every day of the season to have a walk-up?
They have not expressed extending. I'm sure they would love to be able to have free reign, to be able to do that for all of their games.
Mm-hmm.
They have not pushed on more amplified sound. I think they've been managing with the 15 days that they've been allotted for the last 13 years. However, as the walk-up sounds or songs have gotten more and more popular, the resident liaison has shared more and more concerns, just that it bounces off, goes into their house, bounces off just kind of bounces off that space. And so they want zero music. This was our initial compromise of, okay, well, if they can still do, now at bat, Drayton Moreno on their 15 days, or their 12 days now, in theory, would be 12 days, and then they would have 4 days of their special permitted days that the department would ensure would get permitted. So we're asking to eliminate the walk-up songs during those 12 days, and that they could still maintain their player announcing.
Okay. Would they be able to increase their walk-up if they lower the decimals to that?
I'm not certain with the ordinance on how it works. The way that it reads is anything out of like an amplified speaker is considered amplified sound and is not allowed without a special event permit.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any commissioners over here? Commissioner Ahmad?
Thank you. Brandy, you may have mentioned these things in the very beginning, but there's a lot of information, so I apologize if I forgot.
No
problem. You mentioned the neighborhood or the park liaison, neighborhood liaison. You have information about how many people that reflects percentage-wise from the neighborhood?
I don't have that with me.
And do you have maybe a ballpark sense of like what the residents that are in conflict with the league?
From my understanding, when this became to fruition initially, there was about 50 residents that came to Parks Commission, and then that's when the commission asked staff to create this agreement. Over the course of the years, it is thankfully only become the one person who's sharing the information, and PRIS is not receiving multiple individuals talking with him. So I don't have that answer with me.
That's fine. So it's like it's an organized body. Like, I mean, whether it's 50 or however it's grown, it's an organized effort from
It's
some,
not like
from the
an
neighborhood.
official, like homeowners association or
What I
anything
mean by
along
organized
those
effort
lines.
is that they have a
But
liaison
yeah,
who
they have a
communicates.
group, an email group that they communicate with, and then she communicates in to Chris, who then shares the information with the team.
And do you know about how many people live in that neighborhood surrounding Memorial Park? And I know that's a bigger question because
Yeah.
scope could be bigger or smaller, but generally speaking, do we have an idea of what that looks like?
I have no idea.
Okay. If someone could give that to me, I just for my own, it's helpful. I like numbers to kind of like understand the league shared some numbers about how many children and families utilize the park. And I think just as we move forward, it's helpful to have numbers to just reflect, who's being affected and because I think on one hand, I heard rhetoric that it's a few people, right? So I'm like, I want to, as a commissioner, as like a person in this community, I want to know like, what is that? Does that corroborate with the numbers? Is it just a handful of people? Because I know the squeaky wheel gets the grease, but I don't think that's always fair, right? I wanted to, I think, again, you may have mentioned this. What would you say in like a nutshell is a benefit of memorializing, like having this MOU reflect some of these changes? As someone mentioned, and I don't have a baseball background and I'm not from this community long-term. I've been here for about 15 years, but so many people grew up with memories of Memorial Park and Little League. I'm from Lodi. That's my hometown. But I have a similar kind of understanding of what it's like to grow up with something that parks and sports and stuff. My family plays soccer, so we are often on the other side, sometimes coming to city council or these commission meetings with our concerns. So I definitely empathize with the folks that are here. With that in mind, I was wondering, like, if from a city's perspective, having things memorialized, how does it benefit the city to have these things just reflected in the policy?
To have it documented.
Mm-hmm.
For us, it's being able to reflect back to similar to like an ordinance, it would reflect back to how each group operates, and it just gives us the ability to help navigate through both concerns. So with having the agreement in place, and it's not really, we keep saying the word MOU, but it's an agreement and it's a department policy. Like it is not a formal documentation that people sign and that it goes all the way up. So for us to have these procedures in place, and to us, this is a procedural document. It allows staff the ability to talk with the league and talk with the residents to remind them of these are our agreements and to go back to this is for the overall good of the community. And it just gives us the ability to make those decisions that we need to make because now we have something that we can reference.
When I first started the commission, it was 2015, 16, that was when Memorial Park was being renovated, and there was talk then about, what that would look like as far as like the legacy of that park. It's interesting to come full circle now back to this, because I think at the time it seemed impossible. There was a lawsuit in place, right? So would this be something that could help prevent any potential lawsuits or any kind of like, is that the intent or is that a byproduct of having like kind of tighter policies?
I'm not sure how to answer that. Aaron.
I think having the agreement, it addresses things like field use and activity. I know it talks about scheduling and priority and scheduling and that sort of thing. So I think when you have these organized sport leagues, it gives us sort of a like a structure or backbone, and addresses things that are sort of hot topics between the sport leagues and like the residents. It gives us sort of a guideline or the procedural manual basically, so we have something to point to. And I think that a lot of, especially the residents, like to point to, to municipal code and other things, and questioning why we do certain things, and that this gives us something that we can point to in terms of going to say defending ourselves, but as sort of a standard policy moving forward. And I think as we build out things like Bright Park, we're going to have an organized sports league for all of these. I think Memorial Park, because it's so specialized and such a nice facility, that it sort of necessitated having sort of a standard procedure or guideline for using the park. And I think as we develop more nice parks, and with our organized sport league, we'll probably make sure that we have a way of regulating use of those as well.
Yeah.
I mean, for like Jason's here from Park Maintenance, I mean, to maintain our fields well and make sure that we have really nice amenities, we have to take care of them. So scheduling use, giving them rest days, right, allowing for proper maintenance is very important. And if we didn't have a mechanism for monitoring the use and sort of a standard, that would be more challenging.
Which I think you reflected in your earlier comments about the locked fields. Like this is a precedent for what will happen at Bright, for instance, right? So I understand what you're saying about these things as we're growing as a city. So my last question and comment is that someone talked about how the league is growing. There's more and more kids. I think you mentioned 120 8-9-year-olds who are participating just this last season alone. This could be a question for the city, for the league, and I remember something vaguely being mentioned from a previous plan, but is there a long-term vision for a sports complex that can accommodate Little League or something? Because it's clear that Memorial Park isn't going to be isn't going to hold up. It's in 20 years from now, you can't have so many kids playing there. So is there a kind of, between the league and the city, is there some sort of long-term vision for having a sports complex? A bigger one?
I believe the Park and Open Space Plan, we've identified a number of joint use facilities and other locations within the school properties that potentially, in the old River City High School location, has the potential to be an amazing complex. So it's on our radar. I think Bright Park was hoped to be that sports complex, but really it is a community park, a neighborhood park. So it's more of a natural theme. So it's going to allow for tournaments and play, and we're going to working on the master plan for Alice Norman as well. So that's going to be a really cool, athletic amenity, recreation amenity. But I think down the line, we are looking at different locations. I mean, we just bought Belmont. That's going to give us access to the Clarendon location. So we're working at that.
Okay, that makes sense. And are residents aware of that there's a long-term vision? So for instance, in talking, and I appreciate you mentioning, Manny, that you're sold. This is like a fluctuating document. It's growing. It's a living document, right? It can potentially change. Are residents aware that, for instance, when it comes to the banners or the sound or something, that this could be like a short-term compromise for something that these kids are going to have to maybe eventually go somewhere else and be able to play without any major restrictions? Has that been brought up in their negotiations?
No.
Would that? I mean, I personally think that would be helpful. I live next door to a park, and I think that it's worth noting that some people have the privilege of choosing where they live, some people don't. I think, as Commissioner Schatzel mentioned, this is an older neighborhood. Might have a lot of, and we're an aging commission as well. And we've talked about in the past commission meetings that our city is, as much as our country is leaning towards an aged population. That's just who we are. We have to reflect that in our policies. So there's folks living there that are older. I know that I live with my aging parents, and they're not the easiest to work with. And I'm not saying that this group of people coming is in that category, but I want to empathize with the folks that are not here, not able to speak with their concerns. At the same time, I'm a parent of young children who play sports. We had the same kind of conversation around Bright Park, and as a commissioner, I think I remember I kind of flipped I was very adamant about having a lot more soccer amenities at Bright. But when I heard from these residents who just wanted a walking trail and who just wanted to be able to enjoy their park in the evening, and I realized that for instance, Bright Park isn't the end-all solution for soccer in West Sacramento. We need something bigger, and eventually, it will hopefully have to happen. But at the same time, again, living next to a park, someone said, "Hey, for the next 3 or 4 years, can you manage?" And then maybe these kids will be able to. That would make me feel a lot more okay, that's doable. Versus this is my never-ending reality that I have to hear, teach me how to Dougie, on a weekend. So I'm just thinking something can be worked out, hopefully, and they can understand where their kids are coming from, whereas they can also understand where the residents are coming from. So hopefully I don't have any more to say, but I appreciate your feedback. Thank you.
I think and staff's intent is to keep the document flexible enough to allow for adjustments because the residents are going to change. You know, like even having like a designated representative and having a process for establishing that person so that the representation is of the community around Memorial Park, and but the community is going to change over time. So you may have young families in there that aren't going to care. So I think that staff's plan is to keep this agreement, I'm not going to say like a living document, basically, because the demographics going to change, and it's you know, people may be on their good behavior and maybe leaving those parks, the you know, ball fields wide open is not going to be a problem. You know, now that we have all the dog parks, so it's not meant to be like a concrete. This is the end. It's intended to be something that's going to be flexible and changes through the, you know, over time.
Awesome. Any more commissioners? Commissioner Jans?
Thank you. Thanks, and I'll be as concise as I possibly can. I want to thank the players that showed up. I don't know, did Zach leave already? Okay, anyway, I just want to thank you guys for coming. I know it takes a lot of courage to stand up here at such a young age, and it makes me proud to see you up here, and I want you to keep that mentality as you go forward of taking care of your community, wherever that is, to speak up your voice in a professional and concise manner the way you did. It was really encouraging to see that from the youth in our community, so I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for that. I know it took a lot of courage, and I heard what you said. I think this really comes down, in my opinion, to compromise and finding a workable compromise between the West Sacramento Little League, which essentially is the OSL that uses that park, and maintaining peace among the residents. I can understand, you know, living there, that there could be issues with amplified noise or the type of music. You know, I can see that. So I think it really just comes down to a compromise that's workable for everyone. So I mean, I am happy to see that some changes were made to this document prior to this meeting. I think what we originally saw was not as compromising. A lot of my questions and comments, I think, I remember, so for people who don't know, I was West Sac president for a while, and I was on the board for a while, and I don't want to lose sight of how far the city staff and the league has come in terms of the relationship. When I originally began volunteering for the community, it was very contentious. They were talking about getting rid of Memorial Park. It was something that was going to go away. We were going to try to find a new spot for it. And eventually, over time, that relationship grew, and we were able to compromise and find solutions to problems. We didn't always get our way, but we were able to find that. And so I'm glad to see that the relationship is continuing. Even though it's not a perfect world, I think it's always in everyone's best interest to continue to try to work together. But I also want to remind everybody, too, that the community overwhelmingly supported keeping Memorial Park where it was. We wouldn't even be talking about this if the community didn't come out and voice their opinion on keeping that park where it is. So the time for baseball to leave that neighborhood has passed. It is now there. It's there to stay. The city invested over $1 million in keeping that. And the West Sacramento Little League invests thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars every year into maintaining and helping that park be what it is for those kids. The neighborhood isn't dumping money into that park. They're not doing that. And so I don't mean to say that one is worth more than the other, but I would like to see a little bit more, I don't think scrutiny is the right word, but a little bit more attention maybe into how a neighborhood representative is being selected. The West Sacramento Little League, I remember going door to door and handing out announcements to residents that we were going to be holding, I think, an all-star tournament or something. I believe that may have changed, that we no longer have to do that. But at the time, that was the requirement of the neighborhood. And yet, the neighborhood can just say, I am the representative, and this is what the neighborhood wants, without any vetting, that's the right word, without any vetting of that process. So it could be the opinion of one person, could be an opinion of 50 people. We don't know. So I think that there is a little bit of work there that could be done in terms of saying, well, if we're going to require the league to do these things, then in order for a representative to be selected, that that city staff would like to see announcements being made, maybe a vote being taken and selecting who the neighborhood representative might be, so that we're not getting the opinion of one person or three people. I would definitely suggest or recommend that take place. It sounds like staff has been out to the field to observe the sound being played. Has it been, in the opinion of staff, has it been loud enough to be a problem, or is it just the fact that sound is being played?
I can tell you, so on days
There was no sound being played at all.
so I want to kind of go back on that.
Chris, can you come up to the mic, please?
Yeah, so I want to kind of go back on what Brandy brought up on that is, so when we started going out there last year is when it was brought to our attention that, you know, the amplified sound had reached maybe 10 days and that it was exceeding the sound limits. So then at that point, that's when I sent a message to Little League to let them know, hey, you know, you only have 5 days left. And then from that point on, that's when we start sending staff out there. And it seems like, I mean, every time we had a staff, I know Tori went out there a few times. I was out there a couple times, and we had another staff. And every time they're out there, there was no music. You know, there was no amplified sound or anything. So I think at some point they just decided to cut it out and then waited until the postseason play.
So there was no music. Was that after letting the league know, or was that just on your own observation?
It was after letting the league know, hey, you're running out of days.
Okay.
Because this was pretty early in the season.
Okay.
Which is why we are hoping just for them to pre-select the days. Then that way we can know and we can send staff out and we can notify the neighborhood. So if they don't want to be home, they don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the intent on adding in the notification of selecting which days. It doesn't have to be at the start of the season, but just giving Chris a heads up, like, hey, this week, Thursday, we're gonna have our amplified sound.
Okay.
Yeah, and along with that, I mean, that's also, you know, we're able to represent, you know, the Little League. If the residents do happen to say, hey, the sound ordinance was too loud, we'll have a staff there that, you know, indicate, hey, no, actually it wasn't.
Okay.
Or if it is getting too loud, we can remind, you know, Little League, hey, we need to turn it down.
Well, and that brings me to one of my last points here about all-star tournaments. I know, I don't know how familiar the new board is, and no offense, but there is a process that District 6 in the International Little League requires amplified sound for their tournament process. It's a requirement to host tournaments.
They would put in a special use request for that, and it would be a amplified sound permit within that.
But is that not limited to the 4 days then? So is it 12 days plus 4 special permits plus all-stars?
No, it's the 12 days plus the 4 that they could choose from.
So that's what I'm saying. So you've got, and then I'm just poking holes. Okay, I'm not saying that and people did a bad job on anything. I'm just bringing up some ideas that might not have been discussed. So you've got opening day, closing day. You've got fundraisers, right? I think I'm missing one that would take up the 4, and then you've got
Our barbecue.
Yeah, the All-Star Barbecue. There you go. There's 4. And then the All-Star tournaments. There's districts, sectionals, and I don't think we host regionals. Is that correct? So you could have a District 6 tournament hosted on, let's say, AAA for that division, and then follow that up with the sectional tournament for the majors division within a week of each other or 1 week after the other. That would be our special permits for a single day.
It is.
Okay, so that's 10 more right there because they're at least 5 days, possibly 7 if it goes into the weekend. So that's 14 more additional use permits that would be required. So I think that needs to be looked at as well.
And it can be, because again, this is all a draft and this is just all, we're just open for feedback.
Right.
So nobody had stated anything about like all-star tournaments or if there were additional beyond those 4 special use days. When I also am a parent of multiple children who previously have participated in the league. And from my remembering was opening day, hit-a-thon, closing day, and we're like, hey, let's add a 4th day in there in order to, again, then increase. So we went from 15 to 16. It just happened to be that only 4 of those would have the music component, which is then they're still getting the amplified sound within
Yeah.
that.
Well, and that's fine. I mean, that's what these discussions are for, right? I mean, so again, I'm not trying to say anyone did a poor job here. I'm just trying to make observations and recommendations about what might need to be looked at.
Perfect, thank you.
I think that's a big one, right? I mean, because the All-Stars, they bring in, not only are they great fun, I had a blast doing them. I think the city worked with us so well. It's fun to do. And it also brings people from outside of West Sac into West Sac, right? So they're going to visit our restaurants, our shopping centers, things like that. I mean, they're going to pump a little bit of revenue into our economy when we host those 5 days. So especially when you get into regionals, because that's a much wider net of people coming in from outside. So I would hate to see that go away. And I'm not accusing anybody of saying that that's going to go away. I'm fully confident you'll be able to figure that part out. But I think that should definitely be included in this. That would be a recommendation to address all-star tournaments, or maybe make it its own section, that this is not limiting the all-star tournaments.
No, is it okay? Can I give just a little bit of historic background on this?
Sure.
Because I mean, I've been overseeing this since probably 2012. And as I recall, I think what the leagues used to do in the past is they would use those 15 days just for postseason play. And that's typically what it always was. They only have amplified sound during the postseason. They would do it for their opening days, maybe if they had a closing day. I can't, say exactly what year it was, but I know it's been recently, maybe the past 3-4 years, maybe just prior to COVID. That's when they start having amplified sound during the regular season.
Okay.
So because that could be, because I know if there was some confusion about the 15 days, when did that come about? I think that's just something that has just come more now, because in the past it never was an issue because they saved it for postseason play.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that's one of the things I always have to correct the residents with too, because they tend to bring it up too, and I remind them that was always been in place, so it's not any different.
Yeah, and I remember dealing with the resident or residents during my time as well. And
we had a few conversations.
We've had a few conversations, yes.
Every
and it's not like you don't want to respect it, but at the same time, I think the goal here is to do more for our children, right? Not continue to take things away from them. And while I understand that as a resident, you might not want music bouncing off your wall at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday night in the summertime as the days get longer. Oh, that reminds me, I'm sorry, it's also on my list. I think 5 p.m. is...
That was misinterpreted.
Okay.
What was edited in there was for non-OSL users.
Okay.
The time frame was 8 to 5. So we did not make any adjustments to West Sac Little League's scheduling capabilities. I think it was just a misunderstanding that unfortunately kind of got spread like wildfire.
Well, I saw it on the list. It
specifically says non-OSL.
Oh, does it? Okay, so I missed.
That's something separate. So you guys, you're able to start at 4 p.m. during the weekdays and 8 a.m. on Saturdays.
Yeah, and so
there's no time.
There's no time, so because I know there's 2-hour game slots, so you could start a game at 6 on a Saturday, like late May, when you can get that much time in. Okay, so
that's no problem. We have no concerns with their timing or their scheduling.
Okay, great. I'm happy to see that the fields are being locked. I know I respectfully disagree. I think that it's well within a city's right to do that, considering how much money is being spent on those and the misuse of those parks. So I'm actually happy to see that be included in here. So I think I've said what I was going to say. And I guess my recommendation is to maybe return to discussions with West Sacramento Little League and also provide to them some metrics, some statistics on who exactly the neighbors are. Because I know in my time that I've been out there, I haven't witnessed anybody coming up and complaining. Every interaction I've had with a neighbor in that has been good. There's people that buy hot dogs and walking their dogs through Memorial during games, and they're just wanting to watch kids play baseball because it's fun. And they just say, I live right over there. So I haven't personally experienced that. So that would be my recommendation, is return, have some more detailed discussions maybe on what practically it looks like. Vet some of these things so that it's very clear as to what's going on. And I would just encourage both sides to continue to compromise and work together with the city. And just as a reminder, the community, this commission is a recommendation-only commission. And so we unfortunately don't have the authority to say yes or no. We can only provide our opinions and recommendations. So again, that is my recommendation, is to return to discussions and iron out a few more of these details. I think one thing that might work is, rather than putting a day limit on the usage, is maybe, and this is just an idea, but maybe, Fridays and Saturdays and limit to the size of the speaker. So you don't have those giant PA things booming across. It's, maybe something a little more manageable, like a personal audio device, so they can put it on either dugout just for their team. So the kids can hear it in the dugout, but it's not something that everybody within, 55 decibels and within 80 feet?
35 feet.
35 feet. They don't, that's pretty short. I mean, that's like from here to the wall, it's not very far. But if it's directed, for the intention of the kids having a good time, maybe it could be focused on that. Instead of days of the week and decibels, it could be more of, hey, you can play music that's localized or focused, and maybe limit the size of the speaker, and weekends only, and then that would open up the 15-day use for the all-star tournaments, et cetera. So those are my suggestions. And thank you for the hard work on this. I know it's not easy, and thank you, community, for showing up in support of the kids. The league doesn't work without you. I know that firsthand. So all the parents and everybody staying up late after work, and to the city staff continuing to maintain the fields and work together, it's good to see. Thank you. I appreciate it.
There's one more thing to add on to what you were just saying, is if you were to modify the music to the smaller, let's say, music tape or something like that, or it's coming from the dugouts just for the kids, that it don't go against the 15 days, would that sound like it's something doable? Say if they were to use, say, radios or something like that, just for the kids to be able to hear it so they get the experience, but not count that towards the 15 days where they would use PAs.
I understand. I don't want to commit to anything right now, but I think if it's a personal use player, that's different. Unfortunately, now the technology and the capabilities of these speakers, you can have a teeny speaker that it projects like crazy. So we will definitely continue discussions on that. We can do some tests. We can go out there and try and see what we can do. But I can't commit to that, but I can commit to continuing to work with the league and doing some sound tests out there and maintaining the city ordinance as well. Because we're still talking about amplified sound, not so much maybe from like back in our day, a boom box, which
that's what I was going to say, Bose or
they
something.
don't got those anymore. But I think that there are options for that. I do want to just acknowledge that in the agreements that I have collected, no other league allows music or amplified sound without the special use permit. The city of Sacramento does allow for voice amplified sound, but their agreement specifically says there's no music. So it's a very, we are actually generous when it comes to the 15 days, because everything else just requires those special use permits.
Commissioner Ramsey?
Can I ask you, Wendy, how long has 12 days been effect? How many years?
From the very beginning of this agreement, which was adopted in 2013, the league has had 15 days.
No, one of the goals West Sacramento is to make it a vibrant city, have the river walk, have, in someone's mind, have restaurants along there, and, sorry. Thank you, Sherelle. Have restaurants, and, we're gonna have the A's here. We already have the River Cats. We have plenty of noise anyway. And it seems to me that at a time like this, maybe what you might be running up against, I don't know if this is something that's been an ongoing issue since 2013, or if it or if it started then and just hasn't been looked at again. But I would say for the sake of the kids that are going, especially Zach came up with a good point. He made a real good point about how it makes them feel better. And right now, in this day and age, I think, especially with those of us, everybody has gone through the pandemic, and we're seeing that our children are coming out worse on the other side. You know, that is documented time and again. And I would just encourage you to think about expanding it, like to Saturdays and Sundays, like Dave said, like you said, you know, to expanding it to Saturday and Sunday, plus a special use. You know, I think that in terms of having a very vibrant city, you know, Sacramento and West Sacramento want to do that, or so they claim. They want to have bars with music, and then they shut it all down at 8 o'clock. You know, and I hear people that complained about aftershock. Oh, geez, I could hear it. You know, and that shut down the Bridge Fest that was there in 2014. It shut down all sorts of things because literally it was 3 people complained about the Bridge Fest that was, you know, put on in 2014. 3 people. If you're going to want one thing, you better make up your mind you want it. And of course, I'm from Austin. I see how it's worked there. I don't want the traffic, but the noise does not bother everyone.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. I'm just gonna make my final comment so that way we can get everybody out of here at a timely manner. One of the public comments did mention, so West Sac Little League is the only one that has basically an agreement set in place. Why doesn't the soccer or any other organized sports league does?
That's a great question. This agreement was put in place when the residents came to commission to share their concerns, and then staff was directed to create this agreement for the neighborhood. The other user groups, just like West Sac Little League, are part of the athletic roundtable and are subject to the athletic roundtable rules and regulations, all the city ordinances. Soccer, right now, we haven't had that neighborhood come to us in Bright or near Alice Norman and ask for assistance in prioritizing their needs. I anticipate that when Bright Park opens, it's a very good possibility that we enter into an agreement with that neighborhood as well. This lays the foundation for it. But the other user groups are still held to the same amplified sound expectations. I'm still new into my position, so I don't know this 100%, but I'm pretty certain softball has similar banner limitations. I don't even know if soccer gets banners because there's nowhere to put them. But again, we anticipate when Bright opens, we're going to be having these same types of conversations with the neighborhood and with the user groups. And then when we get to Alice Norman as well with that master plan, any changes there, if it impacts the neighborhood and the neighborhood requests assistance, then we would look at the same.
Okay. My only feedback would be is if there's going to be an agreement set in place for West Sac Little League, there should probably be one set for across the board. So for girls softball, for West Sac Little League, I know you said that they still have to follow the same kind of city ordinances, but in the spirit of fairness, I think it's safe to say that I think girls softball should also fall under an agreement. West Sac Little, or the soccer league should also have an agreement set in place. So that way it's fair across the board. And I know, you said that you want to wait for residents to come, but I think just in the spirit of fairness, maybe exploring that option with Kate.
Well, I think with Bright Park, coming online is going to be mandatory because we're going to have to regulate, field use. We're going to have all those new amenities. So it's going to be soccer, softball, baseball. I mean, it's going to
100%.
be,
Like a Bright Park agreement.
Okay.
organized sports leagues in general citywide. I mean, we're going to have to cast a broader net once they come online.
And that is on my peripheral as well, to revisit the athletic roundtable handbook. And I think a lot of these agreements or these allowances and restrictions can fall into the handbook.
Right.
So this agreement is specifically with the neighborhood. It's not so much the agreement with West Sac Little League. It's not an agreement with them. It's an agreement with the neighborhood for the organized sports leagues that may use that space. And yes, West Sac Little League is currently the only /primary OSL, but I just want to be clear that this agreement is between the city and the neighborhood and not with any of the OSLs.
Okay. I just want to make sure. I just didn't want West Sac Little League to feel like they had to walk on pins and needles.
Totally understand that.
Yeah.
And it's a fair assessment that and this is what I'm reviewing procedures, and I'm reviewing like our department policies as I've entered into my new role, just in hopes to strengthen the athletic department in particular, and then, our relationships with all of our, I'm going to say users, but I count the residents as a user as well.
100%. And lastly, I just wanted to thank everyone for coming out and making a public comment. I had a really good discussion with Kylie and Myra over the weekend. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time to meet, and so that way we can have a really good discussion. Our youth for coming out and making a public comment. I just want to touch on what Commissioner Jan says. It's not easy to come up and speak in public and, speak with such tact and respect. So thank you guys so much for coming out. And I know it's a school night, so I want to make sure you guys get out of here on time. One last thing. I just want, I know Brandy and Aaron, we've had conversations leading up to the meeting. If you guys could go back and maybe explore the music kind of area. I know that's a really hot topic area. I worked in youth development. That's kind of the background I come from. And one of the public comments touched on belonging. And the organization I used to work for, no longer anymore, that was one of the core values. And it was that really stuck out with me, and really, it's so true. I think it really gives young people a sense of belonging, gives them confidence, and it just really just supports them overall. So if that is something that you could go back to the table, that would be my recommendation as well, and just explore a really good compromise with West Sac Little League on that. Very quick.
Just to summarize, I guess, that not only are we going to talk about music when you go back to the neighbors, but also who are the neighbors? Did I hear that right? Who are they? And then the banner. Music has been the big focus for the great comments the commissioners always make. But there were 3 issues that I heard that when you guys go back and talk to everybody, because I think if I was sitting there, I'd be real confused about what the commission talked about. So it's banners, music, and who are the neighbors? Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, good. All right.
Yep.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right. That concludes all of my comments. So that's going to go ahead and bring us to item number 5, consideration of resolution 25-1 PR setting the time and date for the 2025 regular meeting of the Parks, Recreation, and Intergenerational Services Commission. Bye. Thank you guys. Have a good night. Drive safe.
We just need a motion in a second.
Okay. Do I have a motion on the table? All right. A motion by Commissioner Schatzel. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Archuleta. All right. That brings us to part 2, Director's Report.
Aaron Ayala, I am the...
Your mic, Aaron.
Not on again. Hold on. There we go. All right. Now, there it is. Shutting off on me. Okay. Won't move. Good evening. My name is Aaron Ayala. I'm the Parks and Recreation Business Manager, and I will be giving the director's report for this evening. Very brief. The West Acre Park project was successfully bid out. Abide Builders, yay! The contract is going February 19 to council for approval. We're hoping to start construction in March. So super excited since that's one of our top 8 projects. Alice Norman Park Master Plan RFP for design is currently out. Hopefully we'll get somebody selected in January 2025. City Council approved the grant application for $35,000 for the new dugout. It'll match the one that they got donated from Clark Pacific. The new dugouts at Alice Norman, so we'll have 2 matching ones. The prefab, super cool. What we're hoping is that they actually can be repurposed and reused once the master plan is implemented, so we can still use them so they won't be lost.
Nice.
And so it's going to be super sharp. And the Del Monte property purchase was also approved by City Council at the 12-4 meeting, and that's the piece that we're anticipating will give us access to the Clarendon park over the old River City High School, which potentially could be a future. Concludes my report this evening.
All right.
Thank you very much. What?
Where was the potential sports complex at, did you say?
Old River City High School in Clarendon.
The old, okay, I just didn't hear that first.
Oh, okay. But we're hoping, yes.
Fingers crossed. All right, that goes to item B, Commissioner Communications. Do we have any Commissioner Communications? Let's make sure that we keep brief Commissioner Communications.
I just wanted to let the commission know that I did attend the 2 meetings that were held on the extension of the Branch Line Trail, one in Clarksburg and then one here. It was great to see Mark Thomas, their ideas and stuff. That was great. This is probably the last commission meeting for all of us, right? Or whoever did not apply. So thank you. This has been a whole lot of fun for me, and thank you to the staff. So we'll see what the council decides, but whatever. You guys were it was great. Enjoy coming. Thank you.
Commissioner Ramsey, do you have any Commissioner Communications? Make sure you're speaking into your mic.
There. In April, they're supposed to discuss, John is supposed to bring up the John Robinson is supposed to bring
Yeah.
the.
No, John Robinson's retired, so his replacement, Kaisa Miller, is going to be presenting instead in April.
Oh, okay. Okay. So anyway, for those that are here, hopefully, Sherelle, you can send that out to us at least a week ahead of time or within enough time to review the age-related thing, because it's fairly, I think it was 35 pages, you know.
The agenda packet
and
gets sent
it
out the week
needed-
before the meeting.
I've done quite a bit of work on it. I don't know. I guess I may not be here, but if I'm not, I'm still planning to come here in April and voice my opinions on it. I met with John Robinson and didn't exactly see eye to eye with him. And I do think that there's a lot that needs to be worked on.
John? No? All right. Commissioner Ahmad?
I also attended the trail meetings, and so I appreciate all the information that was there. I took my 10-year-old son. He appreciated the snack, so thank you. Kept him quiet. I wasn't. It was helpful that it was, at the rec center. I wasn't able to follow up with anyone that I had talked to who attended the one in Clarksburg, but I don't know how many people came out to that.
I don't know, maybe 30. It wasn't as well attended as the one. No.
And when was
the one in Clarksburg? I think we had, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe like 30.
Maybe 30 in total through
Okay.
the span. We was much better attended at the rec center, and the group was much happier. We actually had some property owners that were really interested in supporting our efforts.
Oh,
So
that's
I am
wonderful.
just very excited.
Yeah, it was a very lively atmosphere overall, and people. I like that you had people outside handing out flyers. I mean, I was going for that purpose, but had I not been, they were just like, "Hey, you should know there's a meeting inside." I'm like, "Oh, that's really great that you have people just catching people in case they're like dropping somebody off or whatever." So, great way to increase participation. With that said, I also this will be our last official commission meeting with this cohort. And we'll find out if we'll be coming back in April or not. But If I don't, I've been here since 2015 as an alternate and then like as a permanent member. And I appreciate all the things that I've gotten to know from staff. I've seen, been under 3 different directors. And so it's been interesting. But what I think I've really appreciated is how this particular commission, because it isn't just public amenities, it's also aging, which I think also talks about, which then covers abilities and disabilities and people's, I think that is an important factor that I didn't really know much about coming into it. I do have a personal physical disability, but I think that's been really enriching to have that perspective alongside public amenities and parks. And it's not just about youth. Although that was my motivating factor as a parent when I first tried to join the commission, was that I wanted to be here to advocate for my children. So my kids have fully participated in all the things from soccer, basketball, junior giants, everything. So I love the ways that staff, the different iterations of staff over the last 10 years have attracted grants and like funds into a small city this size. I think that's something that our residents often, if you're not engaged civilly from a civil perspective, don't maybe understand or appreciate. And I would love to try to like share that with people more. I have a political science background, so I was naturally I gravitated towards wanting to be civically engaged, but the average person doesn't. So I think it's a shame that often that's been the same since 2015 for me, is hearing about all the kind of blaming the city for this or that. And I think there's a lot of work that goes into it. So I appreciate all of you that, from folks here, grounds, that have been open to even sometimes meeting with me on a random day. I have an idea, can I talk to you? And so I appreciate that you've been there to do that. And with that said, if I am no longer involved, like you said, I'll show up to meetings. I appreciate communications that come through. I do appreciate the ones I get from Cheryl about here's the summary of city council. I won't be getting that probably, but I'll look for it on my own. But if this is my last commission meeting, I would love to figure out how to increase communication with people, the newer generations, the Gen Z that are coming up. They are not so inclined towards email, maybe, but having more of a presence on, not necessarily social media, but there's other ways to get through to them. They definitely want to know. They want to be engaged. I have a 17-year-old son. And so I think about how he's communicating with his world. And so it would be great to get these younger people on board and interested in what's going on, because it certainly affects them. So that's I'll end it there. Thank you so much. And I hope to see you in April in some capacity.
All right, thank you. Vice Chair Galvan? No? All right, Commissioner Jans?
Really quick, so I applied for the Planning Commission, and as a backup, I also applied for the Parks Commission. So I very much appreciate everybody here, but it has been a while. I've been on the Parks Commission, and I'm ready for something different. But I'm willing to continue to serve the community at this level. I have an ongoing conflict on Tuesday nights, so if I remain on the Parks Commission, I will try to get everybody out here by 8 o'clock. And I appreciate the effort, Emiliano. So that's all I have to say. So it's not up to me at this point, but now you know where I'm at. So thank you.
I'm trying. It's 8:09. Yeah, I think we're almost there. We're almost there. I have no commissioner communications. This is probably my last meeting as well. So I just want to thank city staff. Aaron, you came in as the interim director with Jay, and just truly were just amazing stewards in getting us up and running and just getting us up to date on all the issues related to Parks and Rec. So thank you so much. You really are amazing, and it's so amazing to welcome a new director, Kate. So exciting for that. Brandy, you're new to your role, super exciting. And I wish you the best in your journey and endeavors. And this is not the last you guys will see of me. I will make that very clear. But Chris, your team, and Jason, thank you guys so much. You guys are amazing, and you guys really are the heartbeat of this city and keeping us running. So I truly appreciate it. So with that said, I'm going to wrap up my comments so that way we get out of here. So do I have a motion on the table to adjourn? All right, motion. All right, motion by Commissioner Schatzel and seconded by Commissioner Jans. This Commission meeting is adjourned at 8:10.